What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I'm going to be breaking down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's going on with the news affecting Tesla, what's happening with the economic calendar, and all of these things could affect the market going into tomorrow, especially Tesla stock. But before I break anything down, all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 6 free stocks. If you deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks plus 6 months of level 2 data. And putting in $25,000 or more guarantees you 70 free stocks plus 12 months of level 2 data. This offer ends in just about 1 day. It's been extended one more time, guys. I know that's kind of ironic. It's going to end in about 9 hours from now, and that's going to be it this time. I know it's been extended, and that sometimes happens. 9 hours left and this offer is over, so check it out before they run out. This is your last chance. Anyways, let's talk about Tesla and the market. So looking at Tesla's, things started off kind of weak when it came to the market open. Then we all of a sudden got some bullish news that came out involving the Chinese registrations. We saw a big surge in their numbers by about 19% relative to the previous week. And we ended up seeing some decent numbers compared to the previous quarter. And many of these analysts are now saying that Tesla's likely on track to meet their 1.8 million delivery target for the end of the year. That was some very bullish news. This is why Tesla just started to rocket as soon as we opened, going from the very low 250s all the way up to 258 in just a matter of a few hours before it came back down and started to consolidate. So very decent close from Tesla, nice push to the upside. The question is, will Tesla continue to run, or is Tesla going to retrace a bit and then start to downtrend? I'll be giving you guys an answer in just a couple of minutes. Let's first go over some very important pieces of data. I'm going to be very blunt, guys. SPY broke 474. It's holding up nicely. And it's looking like, despite any bearish indicators, despite any pivot signals, it doesn't matter. The market doesn't care at this point. It's just going to keep going. It's going to continue to squeeze shorts and remain very, very tricky. And from this point on, I believe that there's more upside coming. I personally think that before Friday, or I would say by Friday, if not by early next week, SPY is going to reach 480. SPX is going to surpass 4,800 to some extent. And we're going to be looking at some new all-time highs. I also think that the QQQ not just broke all-time highs, but it's going to continue to push through them. So I see some big upside coming. I don't think the market's done just yet. I think there's, the technicals still look strong, and that's against all logic, against what a rational person would think about how the market should have pulled back. It's against these indicators, and I think the market's just going to continue to screw over these shorts. As a reminder for SPY, for Friday, we have just under 500,000 calls expiring, and we have just over 1.1 million puts expiring with a 2.3 puts to call ratio. The majority of people have puts, so we could see another short squeeze in the markets by Friday. It doesn't look like the market's going to stop from here. Could the market come back down just a little bit, just a tiny bit, by 1 or 2 points, just grab some liquidity, then push up again? Yes, but ultimately, I think the bulls still have the edge, and there's nothing stopping them for now. Now, there could also be some intraday volatility that happens. So I'm going to be breaking down some times. Tomorrow, guys, at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, that would be 30 minutes after market open. We have the consumer confidence report, existing home sales year over year and month over month also coming out. Make sure you watch this all very, very carefully. This could cause some volatility. We want the home sales to be as expected at 3.77 to 3.79 million, and everything else to be very close. We also want consumer confidence to be 104. This could still pump the market more. On top of all of this, at 11:30 a.m., we have the 17-week bill auction coming out. And then at 1 p.m., we have the 20-year bond auction coming out. Watch for volatility at those times as well. So 10 a.m., 11:30 a.m., and 1 p.m., we have some data. I don't think it's going to cause like a massive move like what you see from CPI or Jerome Powell speaking, but it could cause some volatility. So just to be safe, watch and see what happens. But ultimately, the charts still look strong. Now, I just wanted to add on that the fear and greed index is at extreme greed. Generally, this is what happens when the market is topping, but it does not mean the market has to crash tomorrow. What it means is that the market is becoming more risky as we start to see people becoming greedy, but it could remain extremely greedy for an entire couple of weeks. It could still be greedy, tomorrow. It could be greedy, extremely greedy going into next week and into the start of 2024. It could still maintain this for some time before we see the market pull back. But I believe a pullback is coming. It might not come this year. It may not happen until January, but it will eventually come just based off this. Okay. So Am I bullish? Yes, I think the market could push up from here on out. But later on down the line in January, there's going to be a risk looking at the current signals we have when it comes to sentiment. Market momentum is extremely greedy. The put and call positioning is down here, very close to the low we saw in July before the market topped. That is very important to note. Once again, we are getting some signals of the market topping soon. It doesn't have to happen yet. Could hold up for another week or two before we see something change in 2024. Just wanted to give you guys a warning. As far as Tesla goes, we have some big news. Inventories for the Model Y have been dropping for the last couple of weeks. Same thing with the Model 3, the Model S, and the Model X. We're seeing a lot of buyers stepping in. The Model Ys tend to be very, very popular, and you could see how inventories are dropping for those. We saw Model Ys being very popular in China as well during the last report. So this is good news for Tesla. Demand is coming in thanks to subsidies, thanks to different incentives, and thanks to the fact that we're at the end of the year, approaching the Christmas holiday. On top of this, there's some big news that came out. So I find these like articles kind of funny. Elon Musk had what you could call like a feud with the CEO of Disney, and it's pretty ridiculous how all of this is just going back and forth and back and forth. You can say whatever you want about it, guys. I respect everyone's opinions. But with this going on, and as funny as some of the claims Musk may have said are, I just want to mention that there's some users who claim that after all the drama or whatever the heck it is, Disney Plus is kind of like disappearing from Tesla's. The Tesla app, basically, the app. I'm sorry, the Disney Plus app is disappearing in some of these Teslas, basically, in Tesla Theater. This happened to many owners, but some of them have said that they never used the app before and it's still there. So we're going to be watching to see if this changes. This news just barely came out, so this may update. But for now, we are seeing lots of owners saying that the Tesla. The app, the Disney Plus app, is kind of like disappearing from many of these Teslas. So that's some big news. We'll see how this affects Tesla. There's some negative news that came out about how a study found that the Tesla drivers may have the highest accident rate despite the autopilot claims. So who was lying? And this article actually did something very smart. They basically looked at the data, and what they found is that the data that Tesla's sourcing is different from where this study was found. If you look at all accidents, right? Technically, the article is saying the truth about how Teslas tend to have high accident rates. But if you look at the data from Tesla, Tesla tends to count the accidents when the airbag is basically like activated. So with these different methods, you can change your perspective on it. But overall, this article has truth behind it. The study does have truth behind it. And, with Tesla having more accidents per 1,000 vehicles when using autopilots, it's something Tesla has to improve at. I'm in no way going to say that there's not going to be an accident when using the autopilot. There's going to be accidents, there's going to be trouble, there's going to be mistakes that happen once in a while, okay? But you have to remember the technology is still developing. FSD is also developing. These technologies are still improving, and I still think the future is bright for Tesla regardless. So just want to make that clear. Yes, you're going to see negative headlines like this, but FSD is still big. We also have some very bullish news that came out. VW, Audi, Porsche, and not to mention Scout brands are going to be adopting Tesla's NACS charger. That is once again awesome, awesome, awesome news. Very, very bullish for the long term. This is going to start in 2025. This was just released today, so this is big news. And as big brands gain access to the supercharger network, this just helps Tesla gain more revenue, gain more exposure, and just continue to grow. Now, when it comes to Tesla, I just want to call out that looking at some more data, once this loads, Tesla has some more buy ratings from RBC Capital. This just came out a few days ago. They're saying Tesla's going to outperform the market. This is right after what Bernstein and then Guggenheim have said about Tesla crashing. Instead, other analysts are now saying Tesla's going to outperform the markets. Price-risk ratio is uptrending a bit as Tesla's gaining some strength. Wednesdays tend to be green about 48% of the time. On top of all of this, we tend to see green during 11 o'clock to 12 p.m. So at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, basically, and then at 2 p.m., we tend to see more volatility. And besides that, I just want to mention that the volume, if you look at the volume, it's 106 million, so a little bit below average, well, which is not the best of signs, but still, I think that Tesla's going to be holding up. So what do I see for Tesla? Is Tesla going to explode or not? I think that slowly Tesla's uptrending, and I think it could make explosive moves in the future. But here's what I see so far. Basically, when you look at the yellow line, this is actually kind of simple. I know this might look complicated to some people, but basically, we have this yellow line Acting as support, we have 252 and 250 as supports, also 254. Those are three supports to be watching for. The orange lines on the top are our resistance levels. We have 258, not to mention this trend line of resistance that's historical. What is Tesla doing? Well, the answer is it's very simple. Okay, we touch the trend line, we touch the trend line, we bounce, touch the trend line, we bounce, touch the trend line, we should bounce. Very, very simple trend. We have this resistance in this 258 area. We might see Tesla just continue to get very, very, very tight in this range and eventually attempt to break out like this. I find this to be very probable for Tesla, and I think that this is what's most likely going to do. Now, if we break and hold or close above 258, we could turn very bullish, and our next target is going to be 260. We have 262.5 at this orange trend line next, and 265 next. If we break this orange trend line above the top one, we're going to be very bullish. Tesla's going to explode. If we just get above 258, that's going to be one bullish signal. But what do I find to be more probable? Ultimately, I think Tesla's uptrending. I think it could come down just a little bit, grab some liquidity here and then just continue to uptrend depending on the news. And eventually, I think Tesla's going to break out and push into the 260s, if not hitting 265. So Tesla to me looks bullish, nice uptrend, holding up quite nicely. If you want to turn bearish on Tesla, just hypothetically, you want to see Tesla basically lose 252 and eventually 250, and then yes, we will turn bearish. So far, there's no sign of that, and we favor the upside as Tesla's uptrending very nicely. So my prediction for Tesla is we might see it just kind of retrace a little bit, grab more liquidity down here, this 255 area, then bounce and push for 258, and eventually break down and see 260, 262, and the list goes on. I see more potential upside. I'm very excited for Tesla, and I think that there's once again more upside coming. I think it's going to uptrend as time goes on. What about for SPY? We got a nice bullish breakout from this flag, and overall it's still looking very strong. Now, I could see SPY grab a little bit of liquidity again in the very high 473, so like 473.8 could be retested in a bounce. But ultimately, I think that, like I said earlier, we're going to be watching for 480. I think it's going to uptrend. And here's why, guys. This is a very, very simple chart. Go on the weekly chart, you guys can see we have a nice cup and handle like formation right here. And if you look at this, all right, as crazy as this sounds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is the 8th green trading week in a row, which is insane, but there's no sign of this thing stopping. It's going to try to hit this all-time high at 480, maybe even break this. I think that's where SPY is heading towards, and there's nothing stopping it just yet. If we get some bad data or something really bad happens, we need to see this thing close below 472, and yes, I could turn a little bit more bearish if that happens. As of right now, we're above 474. We're continuing to hold up. The buyers are not giving up, and it looks like it's going to be pushing for 480 by Friday, if not by early next week. So look for a little retracement back down to this like 473.8 area, and another squeeze into the 480s by Friday, if not by early next week. The QQQ has done the unthinkable. It has broken all-time highs, continuing to soar. It's respecting a new trend line. I drew another blue trend line here. I think that this thing is going to be continuing to push, and we're going to be watching this resistance right here. Resistance is getting tighter at 409. Could come back down to 408 and just start bouncing. But overall, it's looking bullish. I'm going to be looking for 410 to come after that. So a little retracement and a bounce to 410. And eventually 412 will be our next target. But it looks bullish overall. It's holding up very nicely. Look at the trend. It looks very, very nice. For Nvda, if you look at Nvda, it's looking quite decent thus far. If you look at the structure on it, we have actually this like inverse head and shoulders like structure like right here that is forming. It's looking quite decent. We have a nice gap to fill now, and I think that Nvidia has definitely some potential to push even higher. I think it might come back down right near this imbalance to like the mid, 492s or something, and then bounce after that and push back up to 500. I think Nvidia is going to do that. Just to zoom out of Nvidia, let me just show you something. On the daily time frame, it looks very bullish on the daily candlestick. I think it's going to be pushing back up for 500. Looks quite decent, and I think that might retrace first and then start pushing up again. I definitely think that it has potential. On the 4-hour time frame, just to show you guys for reference, there's a big gap to fill on Nvidia right here. It's going to likely fill this gap and push back up towards like 500 very soon. It looks bullish to me. It might come back down to grab liquidity, then bounce. So watch and see that. It could even retest our 20 EMA around like 491 to 492, then bounce and push it for 500. That's it for Nvda. Now let's just talk about a couple more. We have Apple. I think Apple is going to be the last one I talk about on TradingView before I just kind of like quickly go past everything else. Apple looks bullish. I was saying that if you want to be bullish on Apple, you want to see this thing test 197, maybe even break that. If you look at this, we broke out, we back tested this previous resistance. It's back testing it, and we're going to break out like this, right? So we also have an inverse head and shoulders. This is one of the most important patterns any trader could learn about. We have this head down here, a left shoulder, the right shoulder forming. It's slowly uptrending. I think Apple's going to be pushing back up to 197. Could retrace a little bit tomorrow after this big hourly close. It might retrace a little bit, but eventually I see it breaking 197 and pushing for 198 plus. It might even make its way back up to 200 before the year ends. So Apple might make a nice recovery, start pushing back up and start filling some of these gaps, and that might help the market push up. So I still see potential in Apple. Let me just pull up the chart real quick. We also have the gaps, I noticed. We have a lot of gaps above it, might try to fill because they're trying to squeeze a lot of these shorts. It hasn't fully filled this gap yet from what I'm looking at. Has a gap to fill around 197. So yeah, it's going to make its way back up to the high 190s. It definitely has potential. With that being said, I want to just talk about the IWM. Our next resistance is going to be 202. Could back test 200 flats, then bounce and push for 202 plus. If it breaks that, 205 is next. Overall, the trend is looking quite bullish. We're about to get a bullish cross on the PPO on the 4-hour time frame. Also, the daily looks bullish. On, let's see, SoFi, it looks a little more bullish, but it might actually back test this wick right here. I could see it back test 9.7, then bounce and attempt to break 10. It looks very strong on the daily, so I think it might break 10 and eventually push up for our next resistance very close to 10.7. So I think it might retrace a bit, then push it for 10.7. I think there's definitely potential for it to do so over the next couple of days. We're going to look at Microsoft. Looks bullish. We have a gap to fill. It's also going to likely push up to fill this gap and get close to 375 plus. Look for this on the daily chart to push up for 375 and then eventually 377. It looks bullish to me. AMD is back above 140. We actually got above temporarily above 142, so it's starting to show some life again. It's holding above the 5 EMA quite nicely, and I think that there's going to be a potential push up for about 145 coming. This is looking strong. I would manage to get above 142 again, which is some tight resistance. So this is a good sign. It's showing some life. So it might try to push up more. Watch that very carefully. The VIX, there's no sign of this thing breaking out yet. It's still below the 20 EMA. No sign of this thing breaking out. I would not turn too bullish on this. I would just wait and see. But it's not giving us any confirmation. Same with the SQQQ. And if anything, what I will say is the SQQQ looks kind of weak. The dollar is looking kind of weak. It actually failed to break out. Got this big rejection off the daily 200 EMA. It's coming back down. So it is what it is, guys. Not a whole lot could be done about that. The bulls are still in control in this market. Coinbase could retest 157 from what I remember, and then I think it could bounce after that and push back up for my ultimate target. I think 168 is coming, the 200 EMA on the weekly time frame. I see more upside coming. Google might retrace a little bit, retest 137, then bounce and push up for 141 to 142. I see more upside on Google. I think 142 plus is coming because it has a nice like structure as well over here. On Amazon, Amazon could retrace just a little bit, to come back down towards its daily. Let me just double check the daily chart from what I would remember. I think on the daily, actually, I don't think it's the daily. I think it's actually the 4-hour. We might retest the 4-hour 20 EMA around this 152 zone. Might retrace just a little bit, then make an attempt to bounce. If we lose 151.6, it's going to turn a bit more bearish. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it might come close and then bounce. So look for a little drop and bounce. Meta is looking pretty strong. Very nice close after bullish news came out. Look for this thing to backtest 347, then bounce and push up for 353. And above that, we have 355 coming. If we break through 355, historically, I found 360 as the next level. I actually looked at the chart already for you guys. So 360 is going to be next if we break 355. Overall, it looks bullish on the 4-hour time frame. Got a nice breakout after bullish news and looks quite good. All right, guys, that's it for the video. There is a bullish and a bearish case for Tesla that are both possible. But like I said before, I favor the bullish case as Tesla's been uptrending overall. We need to see this thing lose 252 to 250 to turn bearish. So far, there's no sign of that, and Tesla's holding up quite nicely. So I believe the most likely possibility is Tesla uptrends overall. and eventually tries to like break out and make its way into the 260s. 265 could be a good target if we get above 260. I think it's going to slowly uptrend as of right now. Could become more aggressive to the upside later depending on news, but for now it looks bullish overall as Tesla's continuing to respect this support and make higher highs. All right, so that's what I have for this video. Thank you all so much for listening. Hopefully this video was helpful. Didn't want to make this video too long. Have a great day, guys. Enjoy the evening, and I'll see you guys tomorrow on the next one. Thank you, and peace out.